Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Quick recap. What we saw in the morning sessions was the author, he starts with the conclusion, I am Brahman, and attempts to back it up by experience and reason. What is the experience he points to? I am. And notice that I am there all the time. This is stuck. In all my experiences, I am. And this I am always shines. It always illumines all my experiences. So this always consciousness, always being, this is called Sat and Chit. And then the arguments for establishing I am. This Sat and Chit itself is always beloved, is always the source of joy and is the source of maximum joy. That is Ananda. So I am Satchidananda. Brahman is defined as Satchidananda. The two definitions match, and so I am Brahman. Then the objections come fast. One after another objections will come. That's not enough. Brahman is the cause of the universe. Brahman is omniscient. And then he goes on to show how the universe appears in consciousness. It appears in awareness. It draws its existence from me. The I am. So I am lends existence to the universe. This is just a reversal of what we normally think. My existence depends on the universe. The universe provides me with the material for the body, the food which I eat, the air which I breathe. But he argues, first and foremost, you are isness awareness, I am. And everything else, the universe, the body, the mind, thoughts, Vedanta, everything appears in this awareness. This is something that cannot be denied. And he's using this to show, if it appears in awareness, at no point can you experience it apart from awareness, because experience itself is what? Awareness plus object, consciousness plus object. In that case, if you cannot talk of a universe apart from consciousness, in that case they must be somehow the same. If they are somehow the same, what is it really and what is it appearing as? What is the substance, the reality behind it? It is consciousness. And the names and forms and objects appear in consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is the cause. I, consciousness, I am the cause of this material universe, so-called material universe. And then also, how am I all-knowing? I showed you how I am all-knowing is that I am consciousness, and also this universe, just as the cause of this table is wood, material cause, the cause of waves is water, similarly the cause of this universe is consciousness. But I am consciousness. In that case, I am the cause of this universe. I am not a part of consciousness. I am not a little bit of consciousness. There is no part and whole in consciousness. Even parts and wholes appear in consciousness. So therefore, I am the cause of this universe. Next, the question was, but Brahman is, Brahman is the cause of the universe according to the text, and I find that I am the cause of the universe, so I am Brahman. The next doubt will be, but Brahman is eternal. You are born and you die. You will die. And that will be the end of all your I am Brahman stuff. You know? As the author, as Akbarupanji said, you die, the lights will go out, and that's it, finish, end of your game. He says, no, you will not die. Because to die, to be destroyed, let's consider how things are destroyed. And he comes up with three options. Either by itself, or by the action of something else, or it depends on a ground or a basis. If the basis is destroyed, then that which is supported is destroyed. And then he shows a thing to be destroyed by itself. It gives multiple possibilities. The whole Buddhist attack. We are by very nature perishing consciousness, moments of consciousness. How that can't be right. And how waking, dreaming, deep sleep do not destroy you. How death cannot destroy you unless you accept that consciousness is produced by the brain, the whole hard problem of consciousness. So what's the reason? How do we know that I am not being destroyed from moment to moment? How do I know that I am not destroyed when I go to sleep and it's a new I which is not born in the morning? It's very counterintuitive. That I feel I'm the same one. Because you feel you're the same one, because you recognize the continuity of consciousness. This I am, the world may have changed, body may have changed, but this I am was that I am. This awareness by itself was that awareness. Just the time changed, place changed, objects changed, and hence experiences changed. And of course, by the contact of another, it cannot be destroyed, because consciousness has no parts. Where will anything else contact consciousness? Where will you touch it, burn consciousness? And then the other one, the third one is by the destruction of its basis. You can starve somebody by taking away food, you can suffocate somebody by taking away his air, whatever the basis is. Or, the global warming, so destroying the environment, you destroy all living beings. So the basis, if you destroy the support, you destroy what is supported. But consciousness is not supported by anything. See, this is the materialist idea of consciousness would be, it is supported by the brain and the nervous system. A living brain and nervous system generates consciousness. You, the consciousness, you are an epiphenomenon, a byproduct of processes going on in the brain. And this is what is challenged by not just Advaita, by a whole host of systems. And increasingly now, by neuroscience and philosophy of mind and so on. Very deep discussions are going on. How can we assume that the brain is producing consciousness? You heard about that debate, that bet which took place about 25 years ago. David Chalmers, NYU professor who coined the term hard problem consciousness, and Christoph Koch, a leading brain scientist in the Paul Allen Brain Institute. So they had this bet in 1998 that the way neuroscience is progressing now, very soon we'll be able to explain how the brain produces consciousness. We'll be able to explain it. And Christoph Koch said that we will be able to explain it. We will have a breakthrough in consciousness within next, say, 25 years. And David Chalmers said, no, you won't. How could he say you won't? We'll come to that. So the bet was in 1998, and they probably forgot all about it. Until somebody reminded them last month that the bet is over now. 25 years are over now. So the jury is out. Has neuroscience explained consciousness or made any appreciable progress? Some breakthrough. Progress is always there in neuroscience, but some breakthrough in explaining consciousness. And it's the unanimous understanding of experts, no. Nothing. What do they say? Zilch. Nada. Nothing. That's very interesting. Nothing. Maybe you can't explain it, but some appreciable progress, some hopeful ways of exploration, nothing. And Christoph Koch was the first to accept it. We have not been able to explain it at all. But his response was, give me 25 more years. And he said, I won't live more than that. So this is called promissory materialism. I cannot give you a materialistic answer to this question, but I'm sure there is a material basis for consciousness. This is Ashraya, what he's saying. Material basis for consciousness. Give me enough time, I will prove it. Now, let me ask you the question. What made David Chalmers so sure? Neuroscience was progressing and is progressing now. The technology is becoming even better. We are learning more and more about the brain. So how was he so sure that you can't explain consciousness? Because in principle, you cannot. That's his point. No matter 25 years, 250 years, 2,500 years, you cannot. In principle, you cannot. Why? The reason is that they are two entirely distinct entities, the object and the subject. You can, what is an explanation? Something complicated, high-end, high-level can be explained in terms of more fundamental processes. So life, this is a good example people give. Somebody, a scientist and philosopher, Massimo, he told me that, see, at one time life was considered a mystery, but now we have been able to explain it.
even down to its very molecular level, the processes, the bundle of processes which we call life, we now know it. And that's a good explanation. Similarly, one day we'll be able to explain consciousness. Why is it possible for life? Why is it not possible for consciousness? When we're talking about life cannot be explained by science, Vedanta would have said, it's quite possible life will be explained by science. Consciousness cannot be explained by science. That's right, consciousness cannot be explained by science. Why not? It's simple. Life is an objective process. You can study it, you can experiment with it, you can all observe it. And an objective process, high-level process, can be broken down into more fundamental objective processes. That's what you call an explanation. But consciousness is not an object. It is the subject to which all objects appear. If you want to say, I will explain consciousness in terms of some objective processes, then you are making the claim the subject is nothing other than an object. These are all things, even the body is a thing, and you, the subject, you are also a thing. What kind of thing we don't know, but we will reduce you to molecular processes, electrical activity in the brain. This, David Chalmers claims, and Vedanta and many other, Buddhism, Sankhya, they will all agree. This is a category mistake. That's why it's so clear. Without, how would somebody 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago know what's going to happen in neuroscience in 21st century? They don't. They have no idea, no inkling. But they know you're making a philosophical mistake, a mistake in principle, when you're trying to reduce consciousness to material processes. Just as an add-on here, not entirely relevant, but you might have questions. There are scientists here, there are doctors here and professors. So immediately the question will come. That's fine, I get your point. But why is it that brain processes are so closely mapped with, correlated with, mapped to our conscious experiences? May not be the consciousness as you are talking about it, pure consciousness, but conscious experiences. Pain, pleasure, thinking, memory. When we use these conscious capacities, these conscious experiences when we have of thinking, of remembering something, of suffering pain, enjoying something, there are distinct parts of the brain which light up. So why, if consciousness has nothing to do with the brain, then why is it closely connected? Now, it's not true that consciousness has nothing to do with the brain. There is this connection. The connection is this. In every conscious experience, in every experience, there is this constant background light which we are calling consciousness, which is illuminating. But every experience is different. What makes it different? What makes each experience different? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, they're all different from each other. Because the objects of experience are changing. And these objects of experience are presented to consciousness. So when the objects of experience are being presented to consciousness, the instruments which present this object of experience, various objects of experience, they must also be changing accordingly. And they must be active, doing something. What are the instruments which give objects to you? Your senses. So the senses will be active. Your mind, memory, emotion, thought, capacity to understand, cognition. So when these are active and a variety of objects are being presented to them, these will also keep changing. And this is where the brain comes in. How it comes in, I also don't know. It's the adventure in neuroscience to find out how these variety of objects are being presented, all these changes are being presented to consciousness, and thus giving rise to a variety of conscious experiences. That's why, this is the answer, this is my thinking. That's why there is such a tight correlation between brain function and our conscious experiences. Because of the variety of objects and variety of experiences, and so the instruments must change accordingly. That's why you can map. Not that consciousness is being generated or changed by the brain. This is what I wanted to say. And the mechanism of it I can also show from a Vedantic perspective. What happens when we experience something? There's something called reflected consciousness. And I'll show that later. Now, one more verse and then we'll go to questions. Why this next verse? Because the fifth verse expands on one point in the fourth verse. In the fourth verse, What was done was, a thing can be destroyed by itself, or by contact with the other, or by destruction of its basis. And he showed it cannot be destroyed by itself because of recognition. Consciousness cannot be destroyed by itself because of recognition. It is not destroyed by itself. Consciousness cannot be destroyed by something else because there is no contact. There is nothing to contact. In consciousness, what will you hit? What will you burn? And what will you put a laser on? Nothing. There is no contact possible. And then, because the consciousness doesn't have parts with which you can interact. Then the third one was, consciousness has no basis, so therefore consciousness, the basis, you cannot destroy the basis and destroy consciousness. But the second point, something else cannot destroy consciousness, that he is expanding upon in this 5th verse. Na shosha plosha vikleda, shosha plosha vikleda, chedas chinnavaso mama, chedas chinnavaso mama, satyairapya nilagnyambha, satyairapi Shastrai kimuta kalpitaihi, Shastrai kimuta kalpitaihi. I, the sky of consciousness, cannot be dried, nor burnt, nor wet, nor cut, even by real wind, fire, water, and weapons. What to speak of imagined ones? So it's just reinforcing this. Consciousness cannot be destroyed by something other than consciousness. What is the example he uses? Sky. Remember, he has compared consciousness to the sky. This sky, space. You know, the ancient cosmology, there are 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, the 5. Most ancient cultures had some variation of this. Now what he's saying is, notice the unique nature of space. It is not affected by the other 4 elements. Affected means wind, what can it do? It can dry you out. There is, especially here. So it's very hot. And then there's a wind, it can desiccate you. It can destroy by drying out, desiccation. But the wind cannot dry out the sky, cannot do anything to the sky. It's in fact the sky which enables the wind to exist, air to exist. Then next comes fire. Fire can destroy by burning. Fire can burn up everything, but it can't burn the space. No matter even if there's a volcano, there's a massive explosion, the air may get heated, buildings may be destroyed, but the space there is not affected. You might say the space gets heated. No, not really. It's the air which gets heated there. So, fire cannot destroy space, physical space, cannot affect it. Water cannot affect it. There might be a huge flood, and thousands of people may drown, and buildings may be swept away. But space is not swept away. Space does not become even a little bit wet, even before with a huge flood. And similarly, earth. Instead of earth, he says weapons made of earth, swords and arrows and spears made of earth materials. Those weapons, they cannot pierce or cut space. Obviously, it's silly. If you try to cut, you can cut cloth. You can even cut through a liquid. You can even at least sort of spin your sword in a fire and disturb it. But it can't do much to air, and it certainly can't do anything to space. So weapons, real weapons, real air like a tornado, real deluge like a flood, real firestorm, real weapons, they cannot cut space, cannot do anything to space. Then he says, what to speak of imaginary weapons, or imaginary. What do you mean by imaginary? Imagine there's a movie being shown, and in the movie there's a great flood. Now the flood, the waters of the flood, will they wet the screen of the movie? Nothing. Not even one drop will be there. If there is a huge explosion, will a little bit of the screen, just a little bit burn, will become a little hotter? No, nothing. It's because the fire, the weapons, the water in a movie are fictional compared to the screen, which is a transactional thing, which is the reality in our world. Those are pictures. They will not affect. You might as well write a very sad story and expect the paper to cry. No, that is at a different level of reality. It's a fictional reality. So a fiction will not affect our level of reality, just as dreams do not affect our level of reality. Why is he saying that? Because he has already said that the entire universe appears like castles in the sky in consciousness. They are appearances. They are like the movie fire, the movie flood. And consciousness is the screen on which they appear. Nothing in the movie can affect the screen. So appearances of weapons, appearances of fire, water, they cannot affect consciousness. They cannot affect real fire, water and so on, cannot affect the sky, the physical sky. Of course, imaginary things cannot affect. Similarly, imaginary appearance in consciousness cannot affect consciousness. What's the point? Consciousness cannot be destroyed by anything other than consciousness. Destruction by other, the second option, is not possible. He has just reinforced it. Done. Now the questions, and I promised I would take questions from this side or this side. Until now. Alright, we'll start here. You have a microphone? Yes. Maybe we'll try that. Otherwise I'll have to repeat every question. You ask the question? You go on. Okay, wait for the microphone.
Swamiji, taking from the 4th verse,
yes,
it said about the, it can be destroyed if there is no foundation. So, referring to that,
yes,
can Brahman and Maya exist separately? Because if all these statements are true,
Brahman and Maya can exist separately. Brahman can exist by itself, according to classical Advaita Vedanta. Maya doesn't exist. Nothing exists apart from Brahman.
right? But
Because Brahman is existence itself. Apart from existence, what happens? Non-existence.
right, but if you remove, I'm not talking about an individual, but say that the whole world is destroyed.
Yeah.
What will Brahman experience to know that he exists?
Will not. It will illumine the absence of the universe. So, Brahman, that is in the sense of Saguna Brahman, God, Ishvara, the whole universe appears, exists and disappears periodically in Saguna Brahman. That's the whole idea in Advaita Vedanta. That's as far as the world, God and individual are concerned. Now, when the universe has disappeared in Pralaya, in the Great Dissolution, Brahman alone exists with Maya. That is Saguna Brahman. So Maya, this is Maya which goes through these 3 phases of projection, existence of the projection of Maya, that is universe, and dissolution. Or to make it even more simple, Maya becomes manifest and unmanifest. Maya manifest is the universe. And it's manifest in 2 stages. One is a subtle universe of minds. And then there's a physical universe of this universe. And then Maya is unmanifest, when apparently nothing is manifest. So in Vedanta, in Indian cosmology, actually Sankhya cosmology and Indian cosmology in general, destruction is just the manifest going back to the unmanifest. Think of us as waking, dreaming, and in deep sleep. In deep sleep, our waking universe has disappeared, our dream universe has disappeared. You, the consciousness alone, exist with the potentiality of the universe. That potentiality is Maya. But that cannot exist without you, Brahman. And that doesn't exist actually, according to Advaita Vedanta. It's an appearance. It's an appearance.
There was a Swami here next. In the morning you used the principle of this, I think in English it's called invariable concomitance, right? Of when you were referring to the cloth and the color, right? As an example.
It's called Anvaya Vyatireka.
Yep.
Invariable concomitance, that would be different. That is Vyapti. That's
Okay.
different. This is agreement and disagreement, method of agreement and disagreement.
The question I have is, in several Vedantic texts, the body and the mind, they start out as separate. I mean, it's there's body, there's mind, we talk about them separately. The question I have is, the body doesn't appear without the mind being functional. Yes? So why isn't the next step taken to resolve the body as a vritti that appears in the mind? And yeah, that was my question.
All right. That step is actually taken by a marginal group of Vedantists, non-dualists, who are called Drishti Shrishtivadis. So, what is the relationship between consciousness and the object? Consciousness, with the power of Maya, creating the object. Basically, theological language, God created the universe. And that's the universe that we inhabit. When each of us, we are born into a particular body and we start experiencing, we take it that the universe is already there. The common sense approach is to take it the universe is already there. And then we inhabit it. This is called Srishti Drishtivada. First creation, projection, and then experience. It's been created. For you it's already ready. Mom and dad are there, school is there, the world is there, and then you come into this world. You experience an already existing world. This is one way of teaching Vedanta. This is a common sense approach, because this is most favored, this is how we talk generally, most favored, because this is most acceptable to all of us. You don't have to think twice about it. We automatically say this is what it is. But what you are saying now, upon reflection, I noticed that whenever the mind is functional, the world appears. When the mind falls asleep, deep sleep, when the mind goes into samadhi, the world disappears, at least for me. So yeah, that might be so, but it goes on for the rest of us. But from your perspective, even the so-called rest of us are appearing in your mind only. Even the possibility that there is a rest of the us for to experience the world, it's only in your mind. So those who go down this track, this lunatic track, what are they saying? The world exists only in my mind. Whenever I experience it, the world is there. If I don't experience it, the world is not there. When the mind shuts down, there's no world. This is the consequence you have to bear if you say that. When the mind shuts down in sleep or whatever, the world disappears. Mind shuts down, no mind, no world. Actually you have to claim there's no world, because with the mind the world arose. Including the body. So, we would normally think, yeah, mind is shut down, but my body is safe and sound. There is a bed. The bed didn't disappear, otherwise I would end up on the carpet. The bed, the body, all of them are there, sound asleep. But now you are saying there's no evidence for that. So why not take it that the world appears along with the mind? And the moment the mind is, and for example, whatever is there in the universe, in the Srishti Drishtivada, creation, seeing process, we can say that yes, there is a whole universe out there. God created this universe. I know only a tiny slice of it. And if I go there and see that, there's Mars, and we don't know what's happening on Mars. When Elon Musk takes us there, we can see. But before we see it, it's still there, even if we don't experience it at all. So this is the advantage, common sense. But from your perspective, Mars is not there when you don't see it. It pops into existence when you see it. However, there are Advaitins who do that. They are called Drishti Srishtivadin, and that's taken as a higher form of Advaita Vedanta. Some Advaitins would say that's the way actually. Madhusudan Saraswati says Mukhya Siddhanta. That is the primary, that is real Advaita. There are masters like Prakashananda. There is a book also that is called, I'm forgetting just now. Prakashananda Saraswati. Vedanta. Okay, whatever. That book takes this approach. Then there is another way. Next step. Ajatavada. No projection also. No creation, no world. If you say to that Ajatavada, Ajata literally means not born. The world was not born at all. Not projected, not born. If you say, but what about all this? Oh, this is Brahman. What world are you talking about? Where's the world? But you are there, individual, sitting on the chair. What chair? What individual? It's Brahman. So that's supposed to be even higher. So these are three approaches, but they take you to the same Brahman. That's the thing to understand. The Srishti Drishti Vada, the approach of projection and then seeing, creation and then seeing. Drishti Srishti Vada, seeing and then creation. Seeing itself creates this universe. And then the final, there is no universe to be created at all. There is only one existence consciousness place. The no origination theory. Ajatavada is the no origination theory. All of them will take you to the conclusion that you are Brahman. Now, most teachers would take the first one. Why? The teacher's job is to be understandable to the student. If you start with that, the world exists only when you experience the world. Most people won't. That itself would become such a big hurdle. That means if you're not seeing, I'm not seeing what's behind me, so it doesn't exist. Now I look around, it exists now. I mean, I'm making it oversimplified. So now, who uses this as theories? So it is understood among monks, teachers in Uttarakhand. This is a gradation. Basic, more advanced, most advanced. And the gradation depends upon vairagya, dispassion. The amount of dispassion you have, the intensity of a dispassion for the world, then if you have very intense dispassion for the world, to the extent of not even caring whether the body lives or dies, then you can be a Drishti Srishti Vada. Drishti Srishti Vada. And even further, then you can be an Ajatavada, like Gaudavada. But the point is, whichever you take, way you take, you will reach the goal. There are practical advantages to the first one. Teaching is one advantage. Vyavahara is another advantage. If you seriously consider the world as a projection of your mind, you will find your life in the world becomes very difficult. If you don't think people around you are real, life in the world becomes very difficult. So I have seen people who become very, very fascinated by this, and then they feel that, but I'm having trouble in the world, in my job, in my relationships, with regard to my personal health and upkeep. Yes. So you have to be this desperate monk in a cave in the high Himalayas. Then it may work for you. What might be the advantage? It's faster. It's faster. It takes you to that realization faster. Ajatavada is even more faster. It's direct. But it's also even more lunatic, harder to desperate. All right. There was a lady there. Can you pass down the microphone to her?
Namaste.
After you state your question, so after you say your question, could you turn the mic off? Could that try to echo away?
Oh, there's an echo? All right. Please tell us your name and ask the question.
Namaste, Swami. Thank you so much for these teachings. My name is Sunny. My question has
You're in the right place.
Okay.
Very funny here.
My question has to do, so we have Brahman, and there's nothing else. We are Brahman. So, but we think we are here. We make this appearance. Then enlightenment. Now, we disappear. Are we afraid? Do we create this because we are afraid of disappearing? How would we know that we are Brahman after enlightenment? Because
Yes.
we get absorbed.
Yes. So it's not absorbed. Would I disappear after enlightenment? No. For the first time you would actually be what you truly are. In limitless existence, consciousness, place. Why would you disappear more than anyone, this entire universe? To say, universe becomes your manifestation. Every being is you. So, you would be exactly as you are now. When we realize that I am Brahman right now. With all this body and mind. I am Brahman when there is a world of dreams. And I am Brahman when there is nothing at all. I still continue to exist. Let alone disappearing. The universe might disappear. You won't disappear. We are not a tiny part of Brahman which is going to be somehow absorbed in Brahman and then I'm gone. My precious individuality is gone. People would ask Swami Vivekananda, yes, all that is fine, Brahman, but what about my individuality? I want to be immortal and great and wonderful as this person. Vivekananda would say, you are not even individuals yet. We are all a work in progress. We are continuously changing. You want to be individual, immortal, forever. Which individual? The baby individual? The school kid individual? The young individual? Yeah, that one. The young individual is quite foolish. Somebody said, youth is wasted on the young. Or the old and wise individual now, but then the body is old. Which individual do you want to be? So, no, we are not an individual yet. We are real when we realize ourselves as Brahman. Then we have found reality. Now we are just sleepwalking through life. The Buddha, after his enlightenment, when he was walking towards the first sermon, a little shepherd boy saw him and was so struck by the expression on the face of this person, so inspired. He said that, yeah, just let it be, it's okay. You can just turn it or not, otherwise it will pick up what I'm saying. No, yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So, and the little boy asked the Buddha, are you a god? And he said, no. So are you a messenger of the gods, some kind of angelic being? He said, no. And are you a human being? He said, no. And the boy was mystified. He said, what? He asked, then what are you? The Buddha said, I am Buddha, the awakened. Meaning thereby that the little boy and the rest of us, we are sleepwalking through life. We are really not individuals yet. We are not awake yet. Only when we realize ourselves as Brahman, we are that. How to know ourselves as Brahman? As long as you want to know, see, even to know you need the mind. Right? So as long as the mind is available, you know that you are Brahman. The mind functions like a mirror. How do I know my face? With a reflection in a mirror, I can see my face. I can't see my face directly. But that doesn't mean I have face anxiety. If I don't see my face, is my face there? Has it disappeared? No, it's always there. Similarly, you will not even, once the realization is there, you will not even need to reflect yourself in the mind to know that I am there. You're not dependent on the mind, rather the mind is dependent on you. Mind depends on you, Brahman, for its existence. Mind depends on you, Brahman, for its illumination, what consciousness which enables it to know everything. Right. You as Brahman will be the source of all existence, the source of all consciousness, and the source of all value and meaning. That's the meaning of Sat Chit Ananda. No anxiety, therefore. Goes full steam ahead towards enlightenment. If you say that, no, I'd rather be this person, I would rather be enlightened and know that I'm Brahman, but continue to be an enlightened Swami. Good. As long as you want, that's called a Jivan Mukta. That's the goal, in fact. The goal which is set up before us, as we enter into this path, what would I want to be? So, twofold goal. Jivan Mukta. While living in this body, as Sarvapriyananda, I am enlightened. I realize my true nature is Brahman. What a wonderful life. You would not be afraid. You would feel one with the entire universe. You will feel completely fulfilled all the time. Deeply fulfilled. Now, after the death of the Sarvapriyananda body, what will happen? The Sarvapriyananda personality will disappear. I remain as infinite existence consciousness. Not disappear. I have become much faster. I mean, the limitation, apparent limitation goes away.
Would you know that?
You would know that through 1,000 minds, 1,000,000,000 minds. You would know it. And you would not even need to reflect yourself through that. But then, that is called Videha Mukti. So Mukti means freedom. Two kinds of freedom. With the body, with this personality, and after the death of this body, at the end of this particular personality, you're free. See, we identify so strongly with this body and this personality. So when we think of the death of this personality and going away, we think we are gone. You're not gone. It's just that the lion, and using a Vedantic phrase, the lion has burst out of the cage. The lion is not gone. It's just the cage which is gone. Okay. One more point here, and then we'll take the two questions there and we'll stop, because we'll have to go on now with the next verse. I said the goal which is set before us when we enter into this life is freedom while living and then bodiless freedom after death of the body. In Sanskrit, Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti. Now here is a subtle point, a deep secret which most people may not even have heard of. These are temporary goals to orient us. But once we realize we are Brahman, neither Jivan Mukti nor Videha Mukti, bodily liberation and bodiless liberation, neither of them will have any meaning for us. If you realize you are the one existence consciousness bliss, what bodily liberation? From the perspective of everybody else, you are the liberated while living. You are the Jivan Mukta. And when this body, which others know you as, when this goes, everybody will say, Brahmaleen ho gaya, has become one with Brahman, attained bodiless liberation. But from your perspective, there is no change at all. You have always been the same existence consciousness bliss. The appearance of this body and the final disappearance of this one body is nothing to you because you are the reality of all bodies. You are the reality of this entire physical universe. One sadhu was asked in the Himalayas, so which is better, Jivan Mukti or Videha Mukti? And so liberated while living or the bodiless liberation, isn't that higher or final? And the sadhu said something that might be shocking for Advaita Vedanta students. He said, Dono hi amangal hai, dono ki kalpana chhod do. Both are inauspicious imaginations. Let go of both. Inauspicious. It's supposed to be the most auspicious, the goal of human life in all of Hinduism, moksha. Why is it inauspicious? Because the moment you realize you are Brahman, they have no more relevance for you. Let it go. It's done. Its task is done. It is meant to lead you to this realization. Anyway, don't let it go now. Two more questions? Yes, the two gentlemen there. Tell us your name and ask the question. Yes, you.
Okay. Swamiji, Yogesh from Boston. So my question is, we're saying, even when we say I am, or any experience that we have, it's possible because of consciousness, but also the body is required, like it's not possible
Body
without
and mind
the
are
body.
required, yes.
So it seems like then that body is equally fundamental as much as consciousness is for even saying I am, or existence itself.
For saying it, for experiencing it.
Experiencing it.
Yes. So this is the question. So is consciousness dependent on the body for something? Right? This is the Sankhyan conclusion. Sankhya stops here. Sankhya says consciousness depends on nature, material nature, and material nature depends on consciousness. So they go parallelly. What does material nature do for consciousness? What does consciousness do for material nature? According to Sankhya, material nature provides experience to consciousness. What does it give? In Sankhyan terms, bhoga pavarga, the experience of pleasure and pain, all sorts of experience in the words within in plural. This word, heaven, hell, whatever, all experience is given by nature. And finally, apavarga, release from these limited experiences. Apavarga means freedom. This is given by nature to consciousness. What does consciousness give to nature? Consciousness gives illumination. They give the example of, the ancient example is of a lame man and a blind man. The blind man rides on the shoulders of the lame man. The lame man rides on the shoulders of the blind man, sorry. The lame man cannot walk. The blind man cannot see. But together, the lame person can see, and the lame person gives direction to the movements. And the blind person can carry the person to wherever they want. Together they can go, they can achieve something. Consciousness and matter together have these experiences and ultimate freedom. Alright. Now next, what Advaita Vedanta adds to this mix is it reduces nature to consciousness. Because consciousness is not just consciousness. Consciousness is also existence. So nature borrows existence from consciousness. Nature borrows light or consciousness. And so nature is entirely an appearance in consciousness. Therefore consciousness becomes non-dual. Sankhya is a dualistic system. There are two ultimate realities interacting with each other. Sankhya is pretty neat and logical, but it's dualistic. And the dualism is a problem. How can two absolutely different kinds of entities interact? Where would they interact? This is the old Descartesian mind-body problem. In Advaita Vedanta, what does consciousness do for nature? Body, mind, whole world. And what does the world, body, mind do for consciousness? Consciousness gives existence to this whole display. It's now a display. It's not a separate reality apart from you, the consciousness. It gives existence. Just like a movie screen gives existence to the movie, you, the dreamer, you give existence to everything in your dream. Just like that, consciousness gives existence to everything. And it gives light, illumination, the possibility of experience to the mind and the body. What does the body-mind, nature, body-mind give to consciousness? Manifestation. It becomes abhivyakti, that's the word used. Consciousness is manifest in conscious experiences. So these are the two. This is what happens. Yes, the last question. The gentleman. He's your neighbor, if I remember correctly.
My name is Kumar.
Providence.
Pardon me?
Providence?
No, Seattle.
Oh, you moved?
No, I live in Seattle.
Oh, then I'm mixing you up with somebody else. Sorry.
Okay, I think you may have seen me at Loon Lake.
At the Loon Lake retreat, yes. And now I remember. Absolutely, I remember.
Thank you. So those of us like myself who grew up in a devotional background find benefit in listening to Advaita even though it seems far beyond my mental capabilities. But as I get older, I realize that my memory is getting weaker. My intellect is not as sharp as it used to be. So in that journey, it seems to me that Advaita requires a lot of thinking. Is that as I grow older, am I likely to lose whatever benefit I can get out of Advaita because my mind would not be functioning as well as it is right now?
Yes. This is a good question. Does Advaita require a lot of thinking? This book does require a lot of thinking. Every verse is loaded with arguments, which in a full-fledged philosophy course would take class after class, pro and con, and argue it out. But it's all packed into this book. A lot of thinking is required. Manana. However, the Advaitic realization itself does not depend on thought. Thought depends upon you, that is consciousness of Brahman. All this thinking is to bring you to a point of recognition. Advaita is not that I have learned so many things, there are going to be so many verses, and it's all very complicated and difficult. I can hardly keep it on my head. It's giving me a headache. Do you expect me to carry all this around all the time? Then all my brain capacity is taken up by this. And I don't even know if I understand it correctly also or not. And how can I go around in the world thinking all this? You don't have to. All of this is to give us clarity. When we catch what all this is pointing towards, then you don't depend on thought anymore. You will see rather thoughts depend on you, that is consciousness. Kenopanishad says, Yan manasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which cannot be cognized by thought, but that by which all thought is illumined. Know that to be Brahman, not that which you worship as this. This is the mantra in the Upanishad. Very profound. It's not an object. It's not something you can think about. It's not even something you can argue your way towards. What all this is doing, just taking away the layers of ignorance, giving us clarity about what is already present, luminously, choicelessly present. You are choicelessly present. You cannot help it. You exist, you shine, and you are the point of it all. So it doesn't depend on thought. Thought depends on it. Notice what you said now. My powers of thought are disappearing. All right, time for a story. My powers of thought are disappearing. And Advaita seems to require a lot of thinking. Right now, with whatever powers I have got, I still can't get it right. I mean, I find it difficult to understand. 10, 20 years down the line, I might not have all these powers of thought. How will I ever think about Advaita, understand Advaita, let alone applying it? This is the question. It doesn't depend on that. Here's the story. I mentioned Swami Mokshadharanji. So you know the background already. Yesterday I mentioned Ramanujas, the Swami, who said, this is it, or the same Swami who said, I know what's in that cabinet, really. I don't know what's in it, but what it is really, I know that. That's all. Here's another one of his stories. This is towards the end of his life. And I would go with these complicated questions, as I told you. Once I went with this some question, I've forgotten the question. And I asked him the question. He was lying in bed, quite frail. And he thought and thought about what I had asked him, and then he failed to remember the answer. And he looked at me with a bright smile and a usual smile, a big smile, and he said, let it go, its task is done. He said, I can't remember. Let it go, its task is done. In Bengali, oh ja or kaj hoye geche. Now he was one of the most erudite monks of our order. There was a time when he could recite the sutras of Panini. There are 4,000 of them approximately. He could recite them from memory. That kind of memory. Tremendously learned and very incisive thought. And other monks relied on him, on interpretation, meaning, all of these things. And it's all gone. Imagine how devastating it is. Let it go, its work is done. In contrast, I'll tell you, another great scholar I knew, I can take his name, he has just passed last year, was one of the greatest living philosophers of India, Professor J.N. Mohanty. He worked for a big part of his life in the United States also. I think he passed in the United States. He worked in Temple University. So he was a master equally of Indian philosophy, Western philosophy. After having mastered Nyaya and Vedanta in India, he took, instead of taking a job like his classmates, he took a ship to Germany. This was just after Second World War. He wanted to learn German philosophy. In those very difficult circumstances, he went to Heidelberg, and then he started learning this, what is called phenomenology. There's a great German philosopher called Husserl. So his philosophy. And to such an extent he became an expert in it that any recent publication on phenomenology will always quote Professor J. Mohanty. So, this professor, one day in a conference, this was about 25 years ago, he said to me in a tea break, he said, Swami, I had this little stroke and I am losing the sharpness of my mind, the quickness of getting it, which I could have earlier, and my memories. It's not, I'm unable to recall as fast as I could, and I'm depressed. Why am I depressed? Because see, for a scholar, this is the treasure. If you're a multi-millionaire playing on the Wall Street, a hedge fund millionaire or billionaire, suddenly you lose. And not $1 million or $2 million. I've actually known people who lost $200 to $300 million in hours. So if you lose all of that, then it's devastating. Untold wealth and sudden loss of all of that. So he's feeling depressed. It's very natural. Then I told him the story of this monk. He said, let it go, its task is done. He felt so inspired by that, so happy to hear this. He said, Swami, that is real spirituality. All of this teaching, Advaita Vedanta, all these books are meant to point you towards something. Once you've got it, it doesn't depend on this. The enlightened person doesn't say, where's that book? A little gap has appeared in my enlightenment. I have to remember that particular verse or that argument. What was the argument again in the 5th verse of Advaita Makarandam? I'm not going to get moksha if I don't remember that argument. No, not at all. You will be so happy to let go of the whole thing. Upanishads themselves say, Yatra Veda Aveda Bhavanti, where the Vedas are no Vedas. They're the only holy books in the whole world of the religions, in all the religions. The source book, the root text of religion saying, I am worthless at that state. When you realize what I'm pointing towards, you don't need me at all anymore. It's done. Yatra Veda Veda Bhavanti. One more little story and I'll go on. There was another monk in Haridwar. He, so very long before our time, but I've read about him. His name was Bhikshu Shankarananda. One of our monks, Swami Dhireshanti, in Haridwar, Kankhal Sevashram. He used to go to this monk who was one of those Drishti Shrishti Vadins, Ajata Vadins, yes. And he didn't even have a hut to live in. He lived on what is called a charpai. It's a cot made of coir and all, and under a tree. And his only possession was a loincloth. And he was very austere, but a radical non-dualist. For him the world was entirely an appearance, or non-existent entirely. All the other monks regarded him as enlightened. Anyhow, the story which I want to narrate about him is, somebody came and asked him, Swami, you are a non-dualist, Advaita. So, where are your books? Advaitins always have lots of books. They have books, arguments and verses and all of that. Where are your books? You don't have any books. And the monk said, oh, I have. I have 3 books and I read them every day. Now, the 3 books are Waking, Dreaming and Deep Sleep. And I read them every day and they point to me as the 4th, the luminous existence consciousness bliss. And I'm happy. Okay? So we always have the library of those 3 books, even when our cognitive faculties decline, even when our memory declines. We should be, I can't even remember what that was. It's very annoying, but you shouldn't be scared. Alright, the brain is degenerating, it's getting old, it has troubles, and so the apps which run on that hardware, they're not running as well as they used to. Fine, I am neither the brain nor those apps. It's just a little bit of a bother in the world. But for you, you are the limitless awareness which saw the baby body and the young child's body and the young man and the middle-aged person and the elderly body. You are fine. Alright, now let's go on. Verse number 6. Now the question is, wait a minute, you are Brahman, but Brahman is everywhere, all pervading. Are you everywhere? Lakshmidhara Kavi says yes, and I'll prove it to you. Number 6. Abharupasya vishwasya, abharupasya vishwasya, bhanam bhasan nidhervina, bhanam bhasan nidhervina, kadachidnava kalpeta, Kadachidnavakalpeta Bhachaham tena sarvagaha Bhachaham tena sarvagaha. The world which is non-conscious by nature would remain unknown without the presence of consciousness. I, who am consciousness itself, am therefore all-pervading. Okay, I'll do the TED Talk thing and just outline in brief the argument here. Without the stories, I promise. No stories, no jokes. We get down to the essence of the argument. It goes like this. Remember, the goal is to show that Brahman is supposed to be all-pervading. How are you all-pervading? All-pervading means everywhere. This is how it goes. To see anything we need light. This is an example. First example. Let's understand the example, then we will see the argument. To see anything we need light. Light must be reflected of something for us to see it. All the objects in this room, except of course the light itself, all the objects in this room are non-luminous. They are not radiating light. So light must be, but I can see these objects. So 2 things. Without light I cannot see. These objects do not generate light. Yet I can see these objects. Then what conclusion do I draw? That then all these objects must be pervaded by, illumined by light. There must be light reflected of all of these objects. Good so far? So where is light? All pervasive in this room. Why? Because I see them. And they are not luminous by nature. They are not shining by nature. So I'm seeing them even though they are not shining, so light must be in contact with them, reflected from them. Next. There is, however, one thing in this room, the light itself, these tube lights, which I see them, but they don't need contact with light for me to see them. They are luminous, they are shining. In fact, they are the only luminous thing in this room. Now put these three things together. Without light, I cannot see. These non-luminous objects I am seeing, so they must be in contact with light. There is only one source of light here. How do I know this is the source of light? Because I don't need another light to see this light, but I need light to see everything else. So one self-luminous thing here. And yet I am saying there is light everywhere. Why? Because I can see everything. Seeing everything means light must be in contact, reflected from everything. Therefore, light is all pervasive in this room, but which light? Not the light of the tables or chairs. It's that light which is all pervasive in the room. Done? This light can say, I am all pervasive. This light, it can say, I am all pervasive. Because you can see everything. To see everything, you need light. Those things are not generating light. I am the only source of light there is. Therefore, there is light everywhere. That light must be me, I. It's all pervasive. Here it seems obvious it is light. Here and there it does not seem obvious. This is a table, it's a chair. No, it's light reflected from the table which you see. It's light reflected from the human being which you see. It's light reflected from the carpet which you see. It's not light reflected from the tube light which you see. It's the original light itself. Now he's saying, Abharupasya Vishwasya, the universe is non-luminous, is not shining. They are objects. Stars and planets, quarks and quasars, none of them are luminous, none of them are revealing. Shining means not physical light. I mean, they are not revealing themselves. Abharupasya Vishwasya. Without contact with consciousness, nothing can be experienced. What is experience? Consciousness plus object. To know a star, you must see it. To know a quark or a quasar or something, you must, what is that in Geneva, underground? CERN. Large Hadron Collider. That must prove the existence of the boson. I don't mean seeing only in a crude sense. Your instruments also will reveal it. Your mathematical equations in string theory must reveal the possibility of superstrings. That's also seen through intellect. So, to be known, all these non-shining, non-luminous, non-conscious objects must be illumined by consciousness. But I know this universe. So they are all illumined by consciousness. They are all in contact with consciousness, whatever that means. But there is only one source of consciousness. Which one? I. Where else is there consciousness? I am the source of consciousness. So I am pervading this universe. This is the argument. How am I the only source of consciousness? Why aren't all these other 90 people here, aren't they conscious? But I do not see their source of consciousness. What I'm seeing is your body, I'm hearing your language, I'm seeing your behavior. That's all. If I were a telepath, I could see into your mind and see your thoughts. But that also would be in the light of this consciousness. So there's only one source of consciousness for all of us. It is directly I, me, myself. What Advaita Vedanta says, what is commonly experienced by all of us, Advaita just unifies it. It says it's not multiple sources of consciousness, it's the same consciousness, shining through various bodies and minds. Anyway, but now we'll run through the steps of the proof. Non-luminous objects cannot be seen without contact with light. Bha sambandha. Bha means shining. But they are seen. That means this is all in contact with light. But they are not luminous. Where did the light come from? There is only one thing which does not require contact with light. Yet it is seen, so it must be a source of its own light. That one. So that light must be everywhere in the room. Similarly, the universe doesn't shine by itself. Shine means experienced. It's experienced only when it comes in contact with you, with consciousness. But the universe is experienced, then consciousness must be in contact with the universe. So, the universe, consciousness pervades the universe. How so? Is your consciousness flowing out and going to every nook and corner? No. The idea is space and time and objects all are appearing in consciousness. That's how it's in contact. It's like saying the entire world of my dreams is pervaded by my mind. It's not that there is a world of dreams and then your mind flows out like air or perfume and then pervades that world. No. What it means is the world of dreams is imagined in the mind. That's the pervasion of the dream world by the mind. Similarly, the world of objects is pervaded by consciousness. Subtle point here. Immediately an objection should be there that, wait a minute, if this universe is pervaded by consciousness, and I am that consciousness, just like I see everything in this room pervaded by this light, I should be able to know everything in the universe now. So here's a difference between knowledge and consciousness. This subtle point has to be understood. Many people don't get it, that's why confusion arises. The entire universe is pervaded by consciousness and is revealed to you as known and unknown. What is knowledge? Knowledge is consciousness reflected in the mind or channeled through the mind, called reflected consciousness. Then the mind and the senses objectifying little parts of the universe, seeing this, hearing that, smelling this, touching that, thinking of this, understanding that, remembering this. And all of these are illumined. This is called knowing. So you are a knower, there is an instrument of knowledge, and there are objects which are known. In this way you can only know tiny slices, but you can know them in particularity. You can know them in more detail. Then what happens to the rest of the universe? It remains in your consciousness as the unknown, as a featureless unknown. For example, for me, I can see you clearly in detail, but I can't see what's behind you. You can see what's behind you. But now I see what's behind me. What did I do? I, the knower, I was deploying my instrument of knowledge and seeing all of you. Now I redeployed my instrument of knowledge and made that the object of my knowledge. And now I see that. But you fade away into the unknown for me. Our knowledge is like that. So, and we can accumulate knowledge also. You can reveal something and then write it down and keep it there. So this is the knowledge, known and unknown, both are in consciousness. Think about that. So in that way, I, the consciousness, pervade this entire universe. So, I pervade the universe. But Brahman is all pervading. Then I am Brahman. Because of being all pervasive. QED. Hence proved. Then one more verse and then we'll stop. There's a long, useful discussion given in this verse by Swami Atmarupanji in 6th verse. Please read it. Then the 7th verse. We do this. It concludes one section of the book. The 7th verse. Now a question arises. Wait a minute. You can't be Brahman. Brahman is non-dual. Advaita. There is no second reality apart from Brahman. Brahman is the only truth. How can you be without second? You are one. There are so many around you. So he'll prove that, no, I am non-dual. How? Number 7. Nahi bhanadrite sattvam. Nahi bhanadrite sattvam. Narte bhanam chito chitaha. Narte bhanam chito chitaha. Chit sambandho pinadhyasad. Chit sambandho pinadhyasad. Rite tenaham advayah. Rite tenaham advayah. rehearses the argument given in the earlier verse. Without shining, there is no existence. That existence is not revealed. Without consciousness, the insentient doesn't shine. Without superimposition, there is no connection with consciousness. Therefore, I am not doer. This is a subtle and powerful verse. I'll unpack it. First is a rehearsal of the earlier argument. That without contact with light, things are not illumined. Similarly, na nani bhanadrite sattvam narte bhanam chito chitaha. You cannot talk about the existence of anything in this universe unless it is illumined, unless it's the object of knowledge in some way. Unless you see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, read about it, understand it. You might say, but there are so many things in this universe which we don't see here, we don't know, we don't even understand. It's not even within our conception at all. That's the way we think about it, a physical universe out there. Even if it is so, one temporary answer would be that, well, it is all in the mind of God, so that's fine. God knows everything all the time, so it gives existence to everything. That's a typical idealist argument. Bishop Berkeley, after whom Berkeley University is named, he gave this argument. He was the subjective idealist in Western philosophy. And but what he is saying here is, consciousness itself gives existence to everything. In consciousness, everything exists as known and unknown. So unknown things can become known also if you investigate. Okay. Now, the insentient, the objects of this universe, they cannot shine without you, the consciousness. Only consciousness can reveal this universe. This is the second step. With this universe, you cannot talk about this universe unless it is illumined. But it cannot be illumined because it has no consciousness itself. It cannot be illumined, it will not shine forth unless you, the consciousness, make it an object. Unless you come in contact with those objects. With the forms that we see, with the taste that we taste, and flavors and smells and sounds, concepts, ideas. You must objectify it somehow. It could be just by seeing it, or it could be through sophisticated mathematics. You must objectify it. Then only the thing is revealed, because it will not reveal itself. So consciousness must come in contact with its object. But consciousness cannot come in contact with object. This is the problem of interaction. What is the relationship between consciousness and the object? See, this goes back to Descartes. I mean, not in Lakshmidhara Kavi's case, but in Western philosophy, in philosophy of mind, it's a branch of philosophy. And there you see it all starts with Descartes 300 years ago, who made this clear division between mind and body. In fact, the roots of the hard problem of consciousness are there itself. Descartes understood this. So there is mind and there is body and there is the physical side of it. And neither can be denied. We experience the body and we experience the mind. All of us experience the mind. But what is the mind in relation to the body? Clearly the mind and body are both there working and they're working together. I think a thought, I'm going to raise the hand, and the hand is raised. So somehow the mind interacted with the body. Where? The materialist solves this problem by saying the mind is also the brain, the product of the brain. It's nothing other than the brain. When you are thinking, I will raise this hand, it's the brain which is going through some process, and the brain of course is connected through nerves, to the nervous system, through this hand, and you can do it. Physically, in principle, there is no problem in materialism. But there is a problem in this mind-body dualism of Descartes, because how will the mind interact with the body? Are you getting this? How will the mind interact with the body? No solution. In Advaita Vedanta, this question is asked, what is the relationship between consciousness and its object? So quickly, few points and then I will conclude. What is the relationship between consciousness and objects? 5 theories. I'm just giving you the 5 theories. I will not argue it out. There are vast arguments spread over centuries about these theories. One theory says the object produces consciousness. Object is the cause, the producer, consciousness is the effect. Who says that? The materialist. The materialist. And the other theory says that consciousness produces the object. Who says that? Theists. So you have heard the YouTube talks, I think. So theists. After all, those who say God produced this universe, if you ask them, they don't use the term consciousness produced an object. It's too dry. God made this universe. Every theistic religion says this. But if you ask, your God, is it an unconscious God? Is God conscious? Is it conscious, intelligent, whatever? In the general sense of the term. They will all say, yes, God has consciousness, intelligent. God is consciousness, some will say. So on. So consciousness produced the universe. Second theory. Third theory. Neither produced anything. Both are parallel realities. Consciousness and universe. Sankhya and Patanjali Yoga. Consciousness and object are parallel realities. Consciousness and universe. In Sankhya it's called Purusha, Prakriti. Then the fourth theory would be, for example, just as a sample, we take something from Buddhism. The emptiness people, Shunyavada, Madhyamaka Shunyavada. Neither produce the other, they are not parallel realities, in fact neither is a reality. Consciousness and its object, they rise and fall together. Chandrakirti, the great commentator on Nagarjuna, Nagarjuna's Moola Madhyamaka Karika, Chandrakirti's commentaries like Prasannapada, they're wonderful commentaries. There he gives the example. Like bales of hay, sheaves of hay, you tie them up and they lean against each other. Pull out one, the other one will fall. Consciousness and object, they rise together and disappear together. Notice, as you just said, when the mind is active, the world is active, world is there. Even the mind is put in the realm of the object. When consciousness is there, the mind and the world are appearing. When the mind and the world are not appearing, there is no consciousness. We will say no, that deep sleep is illumined by consciousness. Shunyavadi, the emptiness people will say, all that is your back calculation. You know about back calculation? If the accounts don't match, you pull it a little this way and that way, make it match, balance sheet. There was this interview and joke. There was an interview and the first person to be interviewed for the job was an engineer. And he was asked, what is 2 plus 2? And he said, he calculated a lot using instruments, and then he said it is something between 3.9 and 4.1. That's the best answer I can give you. It's an engineer. And like that, different people were interviewed to cut the joke short, but finally an accountant came and said, what is 2 plus 2? The question was asked. The accountant got up and closed the door and came close to the questioner and asked, sir, how much do you want it to be? So the emptiness people say, you want that consciousness should be always there. That's why in deep sleep no consciousness is there, but you're saying, oh, deep sleep is witnessed by only consciousness. All that is bogus. Because just clearly by our experience nothing is there. So that's the thing. Neither consciousness is real, nor the object is real. They rise and fall together. Then what's reality? Will not say. And this goes back to Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna said, all Shunyata Sarva Drishtina, all philosophies are empty. Drishti means view, philosophy. And I will demonstrate it to you with logic. When somebody was clever enough said, but your philosophy is empty then also. And his answer was beautiful. He said, if I had a philosophy, then it would have the spot of emptiness. But I have no philosophy. If I said something, you could prove me wrong. But I'm not saying anything. I'm just waiting for you to open your mouth and I'll prove your mouth. He actually said that. It's there. Now may Pratigya that I have no thesis to prove. Then finally the Advaitin comes, the fifth view. The object is an appearance in consciousness. Much like everything in the dream is an appearance in the mind. In the dream you are actually not seeing or hearing or smelling or tasting or touching anything. It's all appearing in the mind. All together. The experienced objects are appearing, the plant you see is appearing there, the space in which the plant is also appearing in the mind in that dream, the eyes and the body which are seeing that plant, that is also appearing in the dream. All the things in the dream are appearing in the dreaming mind. Similarly, the entire universe is appearing in you, the consciousness. Once Nivedita asked Vivekananda, when she had learned about Shiva and Kali, can I say that Kali is the dream of Shiva? Vivekananda thought for a moment and laughed aloud and said, well, have it your way. All right, you can say that. The universe is your dream, the dream of consciousness, your dream. This is called superimposition. Nothing in the dream is a countable second to the dreamer. If you see 100 people in the dream, how many were there? You can't say, I was there and there were 100 people. No, only you were there. But it appeared like 100 people and you're also one of them there. Similarly, how many are here? Consciousness alone, everything is appearing consciousness. There is no second reality apart from that consciousness, and therefore there is no second. Object does not constitute a countable second to consciousness. No second means no two, non-dual. In Sanskrit, nadvaitam, advaitam. Therefore consciousness is advaitam. But I am consciousness. So I am advaitam, I am non-dual. Brahman is non-dual, I am non-dual, therefore I am Brahman. Done. What has he proved till now? Summing up. What has he proved till now? He has proved that Brahman is supposed to be the cause of this universe. I, the consciousness, am the cause of this universe. I'm not going through the arguments, I'm just going through the results so far. I am the cause of the universe, I am Brahman. Second, Brahman is supposed to be all-pervasive. Remember, the light illumining everything. So I, the consciousness, am all-pervasive. Brahman is all-pervasive, therefore I am Brahman. Brahman is supposed to be eternal, indestructible. But I, the consciousness, am eternal, indestructible. Therefore I am Brahman. And Brahman is supposed to be non-dual, Advaitam. But I, the consciousness, am non-dual, Advaitam. Therefore I am Brahman. I am Sarvapriyananda, the cause of this universe. I am Nityam, eternal. I am Sarvavyapi, all-pervading. I am Advayam or Advaitam, non-dual. I am Brahman. This is what he has proved. Now another section will start, which we will take up tomorrow. You can hold your questions for the evening session. The next section will be, all this is fine and good, but why doesn't it seem like that? Why am I like this? Why do you have to come to your silly seminar or course if I am all-knowing, all-pervading Brahman? So what's the problem here? Then he will take that up. That will be almost the rest of the book, taking up the issues which come. And then the final touch will be, whatever he has said, I am existence, infinity, I am the witness consciousness, I am infinite existence, infinite bliss, he will take it all back. Really you are not a witness consciousness, really you are not the limitless existence. Those are just ways of pointing out something. Once you get it, all those descriptions are also withdrawn. But now if you withdraw, we will be free floating. We will not know what to hang on to. Anyway, our task tomorrow is getting down to our problem. What's our problem? Why is it there? How do we overcome it? What has he achieved till now? Logically, based on experience, whatever objection you may have, he will show you that no, you are this limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.